Logan Hayes drummed his fingers rhythmically against the steering wheel as he sat immobilized in the thick, oppressive evening traffic of Charlotte. The vibrant city lights flickered in the distance, but his attention was not on the brake lights of the vehicles ahead of him. Rather, his thoughts were consumed by an unsettling feeling, a gnawing unease that had taken root in his gut over the past several months. As he finally maneuvered his car into the driveway of his expansive suburban home, he directed his gaze toward the well-manicured lawn and the flawlessly maintained exterior. Everything appeared pristine, just as it always had been. Yet, through his experiences, he was slowly coming to understand that appearances could be misleading and often concealed deeper truths. Upon entering the house, Logan called out, "I'm home," but the silence that enveloped him in response was deafening. He furrowed his brow, a sense of dread creeping over him, as he walked through the foyer. Each footstep echoed against the marble floors, amplifying the eerie quietness of the space. The house felt devoid of the warmth and vibrancy that it once radiated, leaving an unsettling chill in its wake. "Camila," he called again, releasing the knot of his tie as he ventured deeper into the home. A distant reply floated in from the kitchen, but it lacked the enthusiasm he once associated with his wife's voice. Logan found Camila hunched over her phone at the kitchen island, her meticulously manicured nails tapping away on the screen. She barely acknowledged his presence when he entered, which stung more than he would admit. "Hey," he said, leaning in to plant a kiss on her cheek, but she turned her head at the last moment, resulting in his lips grazing her cheek instead. "How was your day?" he ventured, attempting to keep the hurt from creeping into his voice. Camila merely shrugged, her eyes still glued to the device in her hands. "Fine, busy." Opening the refrigerator, Logan grabbed a bottle of water and took a long swig, all the while studying his wife over the rim. Her golden hair was perfectly styled, and her makeup was meticulous, giving her an air of readiness for an exciting night out rather than a peaceful evening at home. "Any plans tonight?" he inquired casually, a sense of unease creeping into his tone. Finally, Camila set her phone down, but her eyes avoided his gaze entirely. "Just drinks with the girls, you know, the usual Thursday thing." Logan nodded slowly, perhaps too slowly, letting her words sink in. He was transported back to the time when they had first moved to Charlotte, fresh out of college, scrimping and saving while he laid the foundations for his logistics company. Camila had been a steadfast partner, believing in his vision even when others doubted it. Now, 15 years later, they had amassed everything they had ever envisioned, a thriving business, a beautiful home, and 2 wonderful children. So why did it feel as though everything was slowly unraveling before his eyes? "Well, have fun," Logan said, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "I think I'll head out to my office and catch up on some work." Camila was already reaching for her phone again, her mind evidently elsewhere. "Don't wait up," she replied, her focus shifting back to her screen. Climbing the stairs to his home office, Logan felt each step weighing him down more than the last. He settled into his leather chair, booting up his computer, yet instead of diving into spreadsheets and shipping manifests, his thoughts remained fixated on Camila. When had things begun to shift between them? It was not merely the absence of affection or her frequent nights out with friends, it was as if a chilling distance had developed between them, a gap that he struggled to bridge. Rubbing his temples, he attempted to dispel the nagging doubts that clouded his mind. He must be overreacting. Camila loved him. They were happy, weren't they? The sound of the front door closing abruptly yanked Logan from his spiraling thoughts. He moved to the window, observing as Camila's sleek sports car backed out of the driveway. She certainly looked ready for a casual night out with friends, and Logan's jaw clenched tightly at the sight. He had built his business on instinct and intuition, and right now, every fiber of his being was screaming that something was amiss. Returning to his desk, Logan pulled up their joint bank statements, determination setting in. It was time to start paying closer attention to the details of their shared life. Minutes turned to hours as he meticulously combed through months of transactions, his unease intensifying with each click of the mouse. Charges for high-end restaurants he had never set foot in, spa days he had no knowledge of, and most troubling of all, numerous charges from luxury hotels located right in Charlotte. Logan leaned back in his chair, his mind racing. There had to be a reasonable explanation for all this. Perhaps Camila was planning a surprise for their upcoming anniversary, or maybe she was orchestrating an elaborate party for a friend. Yet deep down, he recognized that he was merely grasping at straws. The evidence was accumulating, and it all pointed toward one shattering conclusion: his wife was having an affair. The next morning, Logan trudged through the familiar motions of preparing for work, but the weight of his suspicions loomed large, casting a shadow over his every action. He kissed Camila goodbye, maintaining an air of normalcy despite the turmoil brewing within him. As she left to take their boys to school, he wasted no time in springing into action. Quickly, he picked up his phone and contacted his assistant, instructing her to clear his schedule for the next few days under the pretext of a family emergency. The explanation was vague, a necessary shield for what was about to unfold. He then packed a small overnight bag, deliberately ensuring that Camila noticed it before he departed. With a forced smile, he told her it was a last-minute business trip and assured her that he would be back by the weekend. Camila barely acknowledged his words, her attention absorbed by her phone. "Oh okay, have a safe flight," she replied absent-mindedly, her focus elsewhere as he left. Logan gripped the steering wheel tightly as he pulled out of the driveway, feeling a mix of dread and determination. There was no business trip waiting for him, no airport to rush to. Instead, he drove to a nondescript hotel on the outskirts of town and checked in under an alias, consciously blending into the mundane environment. Once settled, he began his stakeout, consumed with tracking Camila's movements through the GPS on her phone. The first 2 days passed without any apparent disruption in her routine, leaving him in a state of anxious anticipation. On the third night, everything shifted dramatically. Logan found himself parked in a rental car across from a trendy rooftop bar downtown. He had watched Camila arrive an hour earlier, dressed impeccably, exuding confidence and allure. As he waited, his pulse quickened when he noticed a muscular man in his early 30s approaching her table. Even from a distance, he could see the way Camila's demeanor transformed, her face lit up with a joyous smile. She stood up to embrace the man in a manner that felt far too intimate for a mere acquaintance. Logan's stomach twisted in knots as he observed them sitting closely together, their heads inclined as they shared whispered conversations. He hastily snapped a few pictures with his phone, his hands trembling slightly from a mix of anger and fear. Part of him urged action, a desire to confront them immediately, but the logical side, the part that had propelled him to success in business, dictated that he needed more evidence before taking such a drastic step. So he waited, his heart heavy, watching as Camila and her companion exchanged drinks and lingering touches. The moment they finished their evening and left the bar together, he discreetly followed them, his suspicions confirmed when they entered an upscale hotel, the man's hand resting possessively on Camila's back. Logan remained parked in his car long after they disappeared inside, grappling with the crumbling reality of his life. How long had this been happening? How could Camila betray him like this, and jeopardize their family? In the following weeks, Logan transformed into a ghost within his own existence. He moved through the motions at work and maintained a facade at home, all the while secretly gathering more evidence. He shadowed Camila to a series of clandestine meetings, meticulously documenting her lies regarding her whereabouts and monitoring every suspicious transaction he could uncover. However, as time passed, a gnawing doubt took root in his mind, threatening to overwhelm him with paranoia and despair. Logan found himself often staring at family photos, his gaze lingering on his younger son, Asher. Unlike Liam, who mirrored Logan's features perfectly, Asher had always been different. At one time, he accepted this as a quirk attributable to Camila's genetics. Yet now, uncertainty gnawed away at him. He recalled the insistence with which Camila had pushed for Asher to be named after her favorite actor, breaking from the family tradition they had followed with Liam. Initially, he thought it a harmless choice, but in light of recent revelations, it felt charged with sinister implications. With shaking hands, Logan ordered a home DNA test kit, condemning himself for letting paranoia fester. Surely, he reassured himself, Camila's betrayal could not extend so far back. But he needed to know the truth. Collecting DNA samples proved surprisingly straightforward, a quick swab while the boys slept, and soon enough, Logan mailed the samples, preparing himself for a week of anguish, his heart racing at every email alert on his phone. When the results finally arrived, he locked himself in his office, his mind racing with anxiety. He scanned the report, once, twice, 3 times, grasping the implications with mounting horror. The truth remained unyielding, Asher was not his biological son. Logan sat in stunned silence as the weight of this revelation crashed down upon him, drowning him in a tidal wave of emotions. Camila's affair was not a recent indiscretion, it had been an ongoing betrayal, hidden in plain sight for years. He recalled the moment Asher was born, the overwhelming joy he felt holding his son for the first time, a son he now understood had never truly belonged to him. A deep well of rage bubbled within him, threatening to erupt. Logan wanted to scream, to shatter the silence, to confront both Camila and the man who had taken the life he thought he knew and dismantled it piece by piece. Logan had never anticipated that he would find himself in such a precarious and painful position. Facing Camila and the man who had fathered his child, he felt a surge of anger threatening to overwhelm him. Yet, he recognized the importance of maintaining his composure. Logan Hayes was not just any man, he was a formidable entrepreneur who had forged a multi-million-dollar business from the ground up. Losing control was not an option for him, instead, he relied on meticulous planning and strategic thinking to navigate challenges. The betrayal Camila had inflicted upon him felt like a dagger to the heart. She had deceived him, manipulated him, and robbed him of the profound joy that came with raising his own child. These years of lies had stripped away the trust that once formed the foundation of their relationship. As anger wrestled with the cold determination building within him, Logan clenched his jaw, fighting to maintain his resolve. Camila had not only shattered their family, she had also ignited a fierce desire for retribution within him. In that moment, he began to craft a carefully thought-out plan for revenge. He would not react impulsively, he would dismantle her life with the precision he demonstrated in the business world. His objective was clear, he would ensure that Camila lost everything, leaving her with nothing to hold on to. Each piece of evidence of her betrayal he had gathered over the past months weighed heavy on his heart but also fueled his drive for justice. Sitting at his desk, surrounded by the documentation of her deceit, he made a silent promise. He would never forgive her for her actions, and he would ensure that she regretted every moment of her betrayal against Logan Hayes. Staring into the bathroom mirror, Logan adjusted his tie with unyielding hands. His reflection revealed no trace of the turmoil swirling within him, an outward appearance of calm that had always been his strength in the competitive world of business. The same stoic facade would assist him as he embarked on the complicated task of dismantling his marriage. He emerged from the bathroom to find Camila in their bedroom, slipping into a pair of heels, preparing for yet another night out. With an air of calculated neutrality, he offered her a compliment, "You look nice." Camila glanced up, a flicker of surprise evident on her face, but she quickly masked it with a smile. "Thanks, just meeting the girls for drinks again." Logan raised an eyebrow, feigning interest while studying her closely. "Seems like you've been out a lot lately." For a brief moment, unease flashed across Camila's features, but she quickly concealed it, adding, "You know how it is. Sarah's going through a rough patch with her divorce. We're trying to keep her spirits up." Logan nodded slowly, weighing her words. "Right, Sarah's divorce. How long has that been going on now?" Camila busied herself with her purse, her gaze evading his as she responded vaguely, a few months, I think." A sense of determination coursed through Logan as he leaned against the door frame. "Funny," he remarked casually, "I ran into Sarah's husband at the gym last week. He seemed pretty happy for a guy going through a divorce." Camila froze briefly before forcing a laugh that sounded strained. "Oh, well, you know how these things go, on again, off again. Who can keep track?" Logan murmured in response, observing her nervousness as she hurried out the door, her heels clicking sharply against the hardwood floors. Once she departed, Logan wasted no time. He rushed to his home office, where he flipped through the meticulously organized files he had been compiling for weeks. The bank statements, credit card bills, and phone records constituted a comprehensive record of Camila's affair. But he knew he needed more than just evidence, he needed a foolproof strategy that would ensure her complete downfall. He picked up his phone and dialed a familiar number. "Jack, it's Logan. I need a favor," he said, the gravity of the situation evident in his tone. Jack Shun, Logan's longtime friend and trusted business attorney, answered immediately. "Logan, what's up? Everything okay?" Logan's voice was icy as he replied, "No, everything is not okay. I need you to start preparing divorce papers, and I need it done quietly." There was a pause on the line as Jack processed the information. "Divorce papers, Logan? Are you sure about this?" Logan responded without hesitation, "More sure than I've ever been about anything. Camila's been having an affair for years. Apparently, Asha isn't even mine." The weight of the revelation hung heavy in the air. "Jesus," Jack breathed, his shock evident. "I'm so sorry. I don't even know what to say." Logan cut him off before he could continue. "Don't say anything. Just get the papers ready. I want to ensure I'm protected, my company, my assets. I want it all locked down." The professional tone in Jack's voice returned as he acknowledged, "Understood. I'll get right on it." "And Logan?" Logan's grip on the phone tightened. "Oh, I'm counting on it." Over the ensuing weeks, Logan expertly played the role of the unsuspecting husband. He went to work, returned home, and even managed to share family dinners with Camila and their children, all while concealing the storm of emotions churning within him. Each day was a calculated performance, setting the stage for a climactic confrontation. As Logan meticulously orchestrated his plan for revenge, he seized a seemingly ordinary moment one evening while the family was tidying up after dinner. With a casual tone that masked his deeper intentions, he proposed the idea of a family trip. "I've been thinking we should take a family trip soon, maybe go fishing up in the mountains." Camila, who had been absorbed in the task of washing the dishes, looked up with a look of surprise etched on her face. "Really? That's a great idea, Logan. The boys would love it. Her enthusiasm seemed genuine, and Logan nodded in agreement, allowing a small smile to dance on his lips. Great. How about next weekend? I'll make the arrangements. However, the mood shifted slightly as Camila hesitated, her voice quivering as she responded, "Oh, I don't know if I can. I have plans." Logan raised an eyebrow, the casual demeanor slipping just enough to expose his skepticism. "What could be more important than family time, Camila?" he challenged, watching her squirm under his gaze as she struggled to fabricate a convincing excuse. "It's just Sarah, you know she's still having a hard time. We were going to have a girls' weekend." Leaning against the counter, Logan's eyes pressed into hers, a mix of disbelief and anger swirling within him. "Sarah again? Funny how her problems always seem to coincide with our family plans." Camila's face turned crimson, clearly flustered by his insinuation. "What's that supposed to mean?" she snapped defensively. "Nothing," Logan replied, his voice deceptively light, "just an observation. But hey, if Sarah's more important than your family, who am I to argue?" With that, he turned to leave the kitchen but paused in the doorway, adding with a chilling nonchalance, "I'll take the boys myself. You enjoy your girls' weekend." As he walked away, a grim smile crept across his face. Everything was aligning perfectly. The day of the fishing trip finally arrived, and Logan ensured that the car was packed with everything the boys might need. As they were about to embark on their adventure, Camila emerged from the house to bid goodbye, her tone cheerful. "Have a great time," she exclaimed, hugging Liam and Asher tightly. "Catch a big one for me." In that moment, Logan's heart twisted slightly as he observed the exchange, particularly focusing on Asher, the boy he had cherished and raised. The truth lingered near, a fact that would soon shatter their delicate family facade. "We will," Logan replied in a steady voice, masking his inner turmoil. "You have fun too, Camila. Don't do anything I wouldn't do." Despite her smile, Logan noticed a flicker of unease in her eyes. As they pulled out of the driveway, Liam piped up from the backseat, his excitement palpable. "Dad, I thought we were going to the mountains. This isn't the way." Logan met his son's wide eyes in the rearview mirror, his heart racing as he considered the path ahead. "Change of plans, buddy," he replied. "We're going somewhere else, somewhere special." Instead of the serene mountains, he drove them directly into the heart of Charlotte, stopping in front of a luxurious hotel that held a much darker significance for him. This was the same hotel where he had discovered Camila's infidelity, the place where she had been meeting her lover. "Wow," exclaimed Asher, his youthful wonder evident. "Are we staying here?" Logan nodded, leading his sons inside the opulent establishment, masking his true intentions with a facade of surprise. "We sure are. It's a surprise for you boys." As they entered the lavish suite, Logan's phone buzzed with a message from his private investigator, confirming that they had arrived. Taking a deep breath to steady his nerves and prepare for the confrontation ahead, he turned to his sons, his heart heavy with the burden of what he was about to reveal. "Boys, there's something I need to show you," he said solemnly, opening his laptop and pulling up a video file. The boys gathered around him, curiosity evident in their expressions. "What is it, Dad?" asked Liam, his voice filled with anticipation. Logan's voice was calm yet tinged with sadness as he replied, "The truth." With a click, he pressed play on the screen. The footage was crystal clear, showcasing Camila entering the hotel arm in arm with a muscular man, their laughter echoing through the clip as they leaned into each other intimately on their way to the elevator. "Dad?" Asher's voice wavered, confusion etched across his face. Is that Mom?" Logan nodded, his jaw clenched tightly. "Yes, Asher, that's your mother. And that man, that's Brent. He's been seeing your mother for a very long time." Liam's expression morphed into pure anger, his face contorting in disbelief. "She's cheating on you. How could she do that?" "There's more," Logan continued softly, sensing the weight of the moment pressed heavily upon them. He directed his gaze to Asher, whose innocence was about to be irrevocably shattered. "Asher, Brent, he's your biological father." The room fell into a deafening silence, the enormity of Logan's words hanging in the air like an ominous cloud. Asher's face crumpled, tears welling in his eyes as he stammered, "What? No, that can't be true. You're my dad." Logan swiftly pulled Asher into a tight embrace, feeling the boy's warm body trembling. Logan's voice was unwavering as he addressed the situation in the room, a stern expression etched on his face. "I know you're angry. I am too," he said, his tone firm but laced with underlying emotions. "However, what's going to happen next is my responsibility, not yours." He then moved towards the window, allowing the view of the city outside to momentarily distract him. In the glass, he caught a glimpse of Camila and Brent arriving at the hotel, their timing impeccable as always. Logan straightened his posture, the resolve hardening within him. From now on, he continued, his voice growing colder, Brent is in charge. I'm done. At that moment, he captured a photograph of the three of them, a moment frozen in time that represented the unraveling of lies and deceit. Without allowing any further conversation, he exited the room, leaving his son in a state of shock and confusion, grappling with the weight of what had just unfolded. As he stepped into the hallway, Logan inhaled deeply, trying to find his bearings before heading towards the room where he expected Camila and Brent to be waiting for him. He knocked firmly on the door, the muffled voices and hurried movements inside indicating they were aware of his arrival. After a brief moment, the door creaked open to reveal Camila, her hair tousled and her eyes betraying a look of alarm. "Logan, what are you doing here?" she stammered, clearly taken aback. His voice was icier than before as he replied, "Surprising you, darling. Isn't that what a good husband does?" With that, he pushed past her into the room, noting Brent hastily trying to adjust his clothing. "You must be Brent," Logan said, adopting a deceptively casual tone as he confronted the man who had been entangled in his life without his knowledge. "I've been looking forward to meeting you." Brent's face flickered with panic as he looked between Logan and Camila, attempting to formulate a response. "Look, man, I can explain," he began, but Logan cut him off with a dismissive wave of his hand. "There's no need for explanations," Logan interjected, his voice low and steady. "I think the situation is pretty clear. You've been my wife for years, and you even fathered one of my children. Did I miss anything?" Camila's hand flew to her mouth as she gasped, horror flooding her features. "Logan, please let me explain." Logan laughed bitterly, the sound devoid of warmth. "What's there to explain, Camila? How have you lied to me for all these years? How did you allow me to raise another man's child as my own? Please, enlighten me." Tears streamed down Camila's face as she pleaded, "I'm sorry, Logan. I never meant for this to happen. I love you. I love our family." Logan's composure finally cracked as he responded with fierce anger. "Don't you dare say you love us. If you loved us, you wouldn't have destroyed everything we built together." He turned to face Brent, who was still standing awkwardly by the bed, seemingly at a loss for words. "Congratulations, Brent. Your father Asher is in room 507 with his brother. I suggest you go introduce yourself properly." Brent's expression faltered, confusion and fear evident on his face. "What? I'm not ready to be a father," he exclaimed, his voice rising in panic. Logan's smile was cold and unyielding. "Well, that's too bad. From now on, it's your responsibility. I'm done cleaning up your messes." He reached into his pocket and retrieved a thick envelope, tossing it onto the bed without ceremony. "Divorce papers, Camila. I suggest you read them carefully. You'll find I've been quite thorough in protecting what's mine." As Camila lunged for him, grabbing his arm in desperation, she cried out, "Logan, please. We can work this out. I'll do anything. Please don't throw away our marriage." Logan jerked his arm away, his expression as frigid as ever. "Our marriage? You threw that away the moment you decided to betray me. It's over, Camila. You made your choice, and now you get to live with it." With determination in his stride, he turned towards the door, pausing briefly with his hand on the knob. "Oh, and Camila, don't bother coming home. Your things will be packed and sent to you. I suggest you find a good lawyer, you're going to need one." With that, he exited the room, leaving a sobbing Camila and a bewildered Brent in his wake. As Logan made his way back down the hallway, he felt a significant burden lift from his shoulders. The truth was out, and the fragile facade that Camila had so painstakingly built was in ruins. It was time to focus on rebuilding his life, both for himself and for his son Liam. Although it pained him deeply, he understood that letting Asher go was necessary. The child was innocent, but he served as a constant reminder of Camila's treachery. Approaching the door to the room where his sons awaited him, Logan took a deep breath, steeling himself for what was to come. He recognized that this was just the beginning of a more challenging journey, yet he was resolute in his belief that he could weather the storm. Logan Hayes was a man who had built an empire from the ground up. He would not allow this betrayal to break him. Instead, he would emerge from it even stronger. Today marked a pivotal moment that Logan had been preparing for with meticulous attention. The culmination of his efforts brought him to the bustling corridor where the air was thick with tension and anticipation. As he stepped into the chaotic hallway, his gaze landed on Matthew Kern, the formidable attorney representing Camila, who was huddled closely with his client. Camila, who once exuded confidence and elegance, now appeared pale and frail, her carefully chosen designer outfit failing to mask her vulnerability. This stark contrast to her usual polished demeanor sent a ripple of unease through Logan, fueling his determination. With his expression carefully controlled and passive, Logan approached the pair. Kern, sensing his presence, straightened his posture, puffing out his chest as if trying to exert dominance over the situation. "Mr. Hayes," Kern stated, his tone clipped and dismissive. "I hope you're prepared to be reasonable today. My client is entitled to—" Before he could finish, Logan cut him off, fixing his eyes on Camila, steeling himself for what was to come. "Save it for the judge," he asserted, his voice firm. Camila's lip trembled as she spoke. "Logan, please can we talk about this in private?" Yet, Logan's gaze remained unforgiving as he replied, "We're way past talking, Camila. You made your choices. Now face the consequences." Her attempt to reach out faltered, and before she could respond further, the bailiff's voice rang out, calling for the case to commence. Hayes versus Hayes, the court is now in session. Inside the courtroom, Logan took a seat, exuding an air of stoic resolve. Kern stood, launching into his opening statement, which dripped with feigned sincerity. "Your Honor," he began, "my client, Mrs. Hayes, has been a devoted wife and mother for over 15 years. Yes, she made a mistake, one single indiscretion born out of loneliness and neglect." The blatant falsehood struck Logan like a knife, and he could feel his jaw clenching in response to the blatant lies being presented. He caught the eye of his lawyer, Sarah Chun, giving a slight nod to signify their readiness to counter this narrative. When the moment arrived for their case, Sarah stood confidently, addressing the judge. "Your Honor," she began, "Mr. Kern paints a touching picture. Unfortunately, it's pure fiction. We have irrefutable evidence that Mrs. Hayes' single indiscretion was, in fact, a long-term affair spanning over a decade." As she produced thick folders packed with incriminating documents, including bank statements that detailed the misuse of joint funds to finance this affair, hotel receipts, phone records, and the most damning evidence of all, DNA test results proving that Logan was not the biological father of their younger son, a gasp rippled through the courtroom. Logan kept his focus straight ahead, refusing to grant Camila even a glance as he processed the ramifications of what was unfolding. Kern, flustered, sputtered an objection, exclaiming, "Your Honor, this is nothing but character assassination." Yet the judge's firm voice rebuked him. Overruled. With permission granted, Mrs. Chun pressed forward, laying out the trail of evidence methodically, dismantling Camila's defense piece by piece. As the trial continued, Logan was called to the stand, his voice steady as he recounted the painful revelation of Camila's betrayal. Kern began his cross-examination with a pointed jab. "Mr. Hayes, isn't it true that you were often absent due to work commitments and that you prioritized your company over your family?" Logan's eyes narrowed, steel in his voice. "I built that company to provide for my family, Mr. Kern. Every late night and every business trip was all for them, for a future I believed we were building together." Kern pressed again, "And yet, you never noticed your wife's unhappiness or her loneliness." Sarah immediately called out, "Objection, Your Honor." Argumentative. The judge, unyielding, sustained the objection. Logan leaned forward, intensity etched on his features. "I trusted my wife, Mr. Kern. I believed in our vows and the life we built. If Camila was unhappy, she had every opportunity to discuss it with me. Instead, she chose to lie, to cheat, and to pass off another man's child as mine. Those aren't the actions of a lonely, neglected wife. They are the actions of a selfish, deceitful woman who prioritized her own desires above her family." Kern faltered, evidently unprepared for such a direct confrontation. "No further questions, Your Honor," he conceded. As Logan stepped down from the witness stand, his eyes inadvertently met Camila's. She was silently crying, but instead of sympathy, he felt a chilling resolve. There was no pity or remorse left within him, only a cold determination to see this matter through to its conclusion. The judge called for a recess, and as Logan exited the courtroom, he encountered his son, Liam, waiting for him in the hallway. Liam appeared uneasy in his suit, his expression a blend of anger and sadness. "Hey champ," Logan said softly, instinctively drawing closer. "You didn't have to come." Liam shrugged, his conflicted emotions clear on his face. "I wanted to, for you, Dad." Logan pulled Liam into a tight embrace, his throat tightening with the weight of the moment. "I'm sorry you're going through this, Liam. I promise you, we're going to be okay." Liam mumbled against Logan's shoulder, I miss Asher. Is he really not coming back?" With a heavy sigh, Logan. "Asher will always be your brother, that truth remains immutable." Liam nodded, wiping the lingering tears from his eyes. "I hate her, Dad," he said with palpable bitterness, referring to Camila and the devastation she had inflicted upon their family. Logan met his son's gaze with a steady resolve, his voice firm yet calming as he responded, "I know, Liam, but don't let that hate consume you. The weight of their situation was heavy, but Logan continued, we are going to build a new life, you and me, a better one. As they made their way back into the courtroom, Logan's attention was drawn to Brent, who stood uncomfortably near the back of the room. Their eyes locked, and in that brief moment, Logan experienced a surge of satisfaction at noticing the fear etched on Brent's face. The atmosphere in the courtroom shifted as the final arguments were articulated, and soon it was time for the judge's ruling. Silence enveloped the room, thick with anticipation, as the judge cleared her throat. After careful consideration of the evidence laid before her, she declared, this court finds in favor of Mr. Hayes. A sense of relief washed over Logan as the judge continued, detailing the grounds for her decision. Mrs. Hayes' infidelity and financial mismanagement have been clearly established. Therefore, Mr. Hayes will retain full ownership of his company and primary custody of their biological son, Liam. As the judge spoke, Logan allowed himself a small, grim smile, feeling a flicker of justice for the tumultuous ordeal they had endured. The judge continued, stating that Mrs. Hayes would receive a modest portion of the marital assets as outlined in their prenuptial agreement. However, the matter concerning the younger child, Asher, would not be resolved today. Given the DNA evidence, custody will be determined in a separate hearing with his biological father, she concluded. The gavel came down with a final, resounding thud, signifying the end of a chapter. Logan stood, shaking hands with Sarah, a supportive figure who had been by his side throughout the proceedings. Thank you, he said simply, the weight of gratitude evident in his tone. Sarah nodded, fully understanding the gravity of those words. You're welcome, Logan. Take care of yourself and Liam. As he turned to leave, Camila rushed toward him, her face streaked with tears. Logan, please, you can't do this. Where am I supposed to go? What about Asher? Her desperation was palpable. Logan's voice turned icy as he replied, you should have thought about that before you decided to destroy our family, Camila. As for Asher, that's between you and Brent now. With that final statement, he walked away, leaving Camila sobbing in the courtroom, the reality of her actions crashing down on her. As he passed Brent, Logan paused, his expression stern. I suggest you step up, Brent, he said coldly. You've got a son to take care of now. Brent nodded weakly, looking completely shell-shocked by the turn of events. Logan felt a momentary twinge of guilt regarding Asher, yet he quickly pushed it aside. He could not take on that role now, the wound was still too raw, the reminder of loss too painful to bear. In the weeks that followed, Logan immersed himself in his work, focusing on rebuilding his life alongside Liam. They moved into a new house, attempting to start fresh, but the emotional pain lingered, an ever-present undercurrent in their lives. One evening, while working late in his home office, Logan's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Curiosity piqued, he opened the message to discover a photo of Asher, looking forlorn and lost in what seemed to be a small, run-down apartment. The following text read, he misses you. We both do. Can we talk? Logan's grip tightened around the phone as conflicting emotions surged within him. For a fleeting moment, the temptation to reach out and salvage something from the wreckage of his family was overwhelming. However, the years of lies and the depth of Camila's betrayal resurfaced in his mind, and with a decisive click, he blocked the number. Just then, a knock on his office door interrupted his thoughts. Dad? Liam's voice called out hesitantly. Can I come in? Sure, buddy, Logan replied, pushing his thoughts of Camila and Asher aside for the moment. Liam entered, visibly nervous. Dad, I got into that summer engineering program, the one in California. A genuine smile broke across Logan's face, overflowing with pride. That's fantastic, Liam. I'm so proud of you. Thanks, Liam said, fidgeting with the hem of his shirt. But it's for 6 weeks. Is it okay if I go? I don't want to leave you alone. Logan stood and walked around his desk, placing his hands on Liam's shoulders. Liam, listen to me. You are not responsible for my happiness. I want you to go, to learn, to experience new things. I'll be fine. Liam hugged him tightly, gratitude and love evident in his embrace. Thanks, Dad. I love you. I love you too, buddy, Logan replied, his throat tightening with emotion as Liam left the room. Turning to look out the window, Logan stared at the city skyline, which stretched before him like a vista of endless possibilities. He reflected on how far he had come from that small town in South Carolina to where he stood now, having built an empire. And he realized that he could do it again. But this time, it would be different. This time, Logan had come to understand, through bitter experience, that trust was a luxury he could no longer afford. He stood in his living room, the air thick with the memories of betrayal, when his phone buzzed once again. This time, it was a message from Rachel Waverly, a lawyer he had met not long ago at a charity event. The text read, "Still up for drinks tomorrow?" Logan felt a smile creep across his face as he typed back a quick and enthusiastic, "Absolutely." Rachel was the embodiment of everything Camila had pretended to be: smart, independent, and driven. What set Rachel apart was her deep understanding of loyalty, a value Logan had come to appreciate more than ever. As he prepared for bed later that night, Logan caught a glimpse of himself in the mirror. The reflection that stared back was that of a man who had aged prematurely, hardened by the trials he had endured, yet undeniably unbroken. He had survived Camila's betrayal, he had fought to protect what was rightfully his, and now he felt a stirring sense of readiness to embark on a new chapter of his life. The following morning, Logan awoke early, his mind clear and his focus sharp. He had a significant meeting scheduled with his executive team to discuss ambitious expansion plans for the company he had tirelessly built. As he adjusted his tie, a wave of anticipation washed over him. This was his domain, building, growing, and conquering in a landscape he had long since mastered. Just as he was about to leave for the office, he noticed a small package sitting on the kitchen counter. It was addressed to Camila and had been forwarded from their old address. For a fleeting moment, Logan considered tossing it in the trash without opening it. Yet, the nagging pull of curiosity prevailed. Inside the package, he found a single photograph enclosed in a simple frame. His breath hitched in his throat as he recognized the image. It was the moment he had captured at the hotel, the day when Liam and Asher had learned about their mother's betrayal. Attached to the photograph was a terse note, "You chose this. Remember that." Logan stared at the photo, a tumult of emotions swirling within him: anger, sadness, and determination. After a long moment of contemplation, he made a decisive choice. He carefully placed the photo back inside the package and sealed it shut. Addressing it to Camila's new residence, a small, run-down apartment complex across town, he handed it to his assistant for mailing. In that moment, Logan felt a profound sense of finality. This package contained the last remnant of unfinished business, the final reminder of the life he had left behind. "Is that everything, Mr. Hayes?" his assistant inquired. Logan nodded, a slight grim smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. "Yes, that's everything. Now let's focus on the future." He strode out of his house, a renewed sense of purpose propelling him forward to meet whatever challenges lay ahead. Logan Hayes had been knocked down, but he had risen again, stronger than before, and this time, nothing and no one would obstruct his path. As he drove to the office, his phone rang. It was Rachel. "Morning, Logan," her voice came through the speaker, warm yet professional. "Just wanted to confirm our dinner plans for tonight. I've made reservations at that new place downtown." "Sounds perfect," Logan replied, feeling a genuine spark of anticipation. "Looking forward to it, Rachel." As he hung up, he caught a glimpse of his reflection in the rearview mirror once more. The man looking back at him was undeniably different from the one who had discovered his wife's betrayal months earlier. He was harder, yes, but also imbued with resilience and determination. Logan pulled into the parking lot of his company headquarters, the towering building a testament to all he had accomplished. As he walked through the lobby, employees greeted him with nods of respect, some offering quiet, "Good morning, Mr. Hayes." In the elevator, he allowed himself a moment to reflect on the losses he had endured, the family he thought he had and the life he had built, but he recognized that he had also gained invaluable insight. He had a clearer vision of who he was and what he could achieve. He had learned to trust himself, even if he could no longer trust those around him. The elevator doors opened onto the executive floor, and Logan stepped out, ready to take charge and lead his company into a new era of growth and success. Whatever lay ahead, he would confront it on his own terms. As he pushed open the boardroom doors, a surge of purpose enveloped him. This was where he belonged, this was what he was meant to do. "Good morning, everyone," he declared, his voice resonating with strength and confidence. "Let's get started."